Intellectually, I understand that all of us are going to die, that humanity will perish and fall back into perfect obscurity. Maybe not tomorrow or for a million years, but eventually, all we ever made will be dust. And yet, I keep making things, other than for the reason that existential dread grips me only about once a week, and that I have a concern for bettering my world along more modest timescales. I make things because those things have intrinsic value to me. That's not a simple concept, intrinsic value, and yet it's something we all assign to the things we love to do. It's why we love to do them, because that activity is valuable for its own sake. Writing fiction, that's something I do for its own sake. Making music, this channel, The Nerdwriter, is intrinsically valuable to me. It combines my love of learning and expression with the skills I've gained in video editing over years and years. When I'm editing these vlogs, a process that takes about 4 to 6 hours, I often find myself in a sort of super focused state, where it almost seems like my awareness is merging with my actions on the computer. And the next thing I know, I'm feeling lightheaded because hours have passed and I've completely forgot to eat dinner, and now it's 1 a.m. There's a psychological term for this feeling, and it's called flow. It's a concept introduced by Hungarian psychology professor Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi when he became fascinated by how artists got lost in their work. When Csikszentmihalyi talked to painters or athletes or scientists, they all described to him similar feelings of heightened focus. One composer described it like this: "You are in an ecstatic state to such a point that you feel as though you almost don't exist. My hand seems devoid of myself and I have nothing to do with what is happening. I just sit there in a state of awe and wonderment, and the music just flows out of me." It was this continual reference to the image of being in a river or water flowing that gave Csikszentmihalyi the name for his phenomenon, and it seems about as old as humanity is. Historical sources suggest that Michelangelo may have been in a state of flow while painting the Sistine Chapel. It's reported that he would paint for days at a time, forsaking food or sleep. In The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee instructs, "Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water." Everyone can experience this feeling, but to do so requires a few preconditions. First, you have to be involved in an activity with a clear set of goals and progress. The task at hand must have clear and immediate feedback, and most importantly, there has to be a good balance between the perceived challenges of a task and one's perceived skills. Csikszentmihalyi developed a model for his idea, and it looks like this. On the y-axis is the challenge level, and on the x-axis is the skill level. As you can see, when the challenge is really hard and the skills are really low, that's gonna cause anxiety because you know what you want to do, but you can't even get close to achieving it. Any kind of representative drawing fits that category for me. Only when the challenge level is high and you have the skills to match can a state of flow be achieved. The composer I quoted above had been working at his craft for decades. The process was second nature to him. A pro athlete who gets in the zone, another synonym for flow, practices for the balance of his life. I've been video editing for 10 years, and because of all those years of hard-earned technique, I can see what I want to do like a mechanic can see how the pieces of a car should come together. And like a mechanic or a composer or an athlete, I'm forced to push myself into new territory because the challenges eventually get easier and I fall back into a state of control. When writing fiction, I waver somewhere between arousal and anxiety. It'll be many more years, I suspect, before my talent matches the gargantuan task of writing, and I can slip into that space where the mutinous nest of my thoughts resolves into the lovely shapes I admire in other writers. The key point here is that flow is possible in so many areas of experience: art, science, sports, at work, in business or law or medicine. But its vital prerequisite in all those cases is an extended devotion to craft. We all have the ability to distinguish between different qualities of pleasure. Being in a flow state seems to me to be made of pure stuff, not just for what it achieves, but for what it is. I don't know why human beings can experience intrinsic value in the activities that they choose to love, but I'm happy to go along for the ride. So since I've been back from my last little break, we've talked about beach whales, comic book films, Kintsugi, the Diderot effect, how nuclear weapons screwed art forgers, video games, architecture, the right to be forgotten, and now flow. And but the conversations and discussions in the weeks following all those videos have been more interesting to me in most cases than the videos themselves. I want to thank everybody who's been watching since I've been back and engaging in these videos and these topics. I'm glad you're part of this community. If you're watching this, thank you for watching and engaging, and continue to do so. I'm going to focus as much as I can on you. Ask me anything on Tumblr where we can really sort of expand on these topics, or comment below, post this on Reddit, follow me on Twitter for short little thoughts, all that good stuff. I will see you next Friday.